was one outside. You want me to get it? It's outside on the table. Water is the safest.
Yeah. Is this mine?
Right side, yes.
This mine?
No, the right, on the right.
Oh, the right.
Das Podium ist ein bisschen wie ein Sack. Da fehlt immer jemand vom Podium.
Ja.
Oh, okay. How many people? There's already people?
Already.
Okay. Yeah. Is this? It's working?
You have to press the button.
Hier.
Ah. Where are they?
Rosa. Rosa is searching her notes. She was
For
there.
notes?
The notes.
Ah, the notes.
And
Do we need notes?
no, you don't need
You
notes.
have notes?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Hast du gefunden?
My notes were in the trash.
Ah, somebody.
Hamza holt sein Glas.
So, jetzt sind wir soweit. Ich begrüße alle ganz herzlich zur heutigen Veranstaltung. Mein Name ist Elke Breitenbach. Die Veranstaltung wird von der progressiven Linken in Berlin durchgeführt. Ich bin jetzt diejenige, die heute das Hausrecht hat. Wir möchten hier eine sehr konstruktive Debatte und deshalb sage ich gleich, ich werde von meinem Hausrecht Gebrauch machen, wenn es hier Störungen gibt. Wir bestehen darauf, dass wir in Ruhe und konstruktiv miteinander diskutieren können. Ich möchte mich ganz besonders bei Hamza und Shay bedanken, dass ihr hierher gekommen seid, weil wir wissen, dass es nicht selbstverständlich ist, dass ihr hier in diese Räume kommt und dass ihr mit uns diese Veranstaltung macht. Dafür nochmal ein herzliches Dankeschön. Und ein herzliches Dankeschön an Rosa und an Hanan, dass ihr diese Veranstaltung moderiert. Diese Veranstaltung wird in Englisch durchgeführt. Wer jetzt die ähnliche Situation hat, wie ich sie habe, dass die Englischkenntnisse jetzt nicht ausgesprochen groß sind, gibt es eine Flüsterübersetzung. Und deshalb bitte ich, dass diejenigen, die Flüsterübersetzung machen, sich mal melden. So, denn alle, die jetzt gar kein oder schlechtes Englisch können, können sich da hinten jetzt versammeln und dann gibt es die Flüsterübersetzung und damit können wir jetzt anfangen. Dann geht es jetzt los.
Yeah, hello to everyone. A warm welcome to you, Shay and Hamza. Thank you for being here. This evening will be all about respectfully listening, asking questions which wanted to be asked a long time ago, and finding a way to resuscitate a left emancipatory understanding of complexity. For the first hour, we prepared a range of questions that we will ask each other. And for the second part, we will open the discussion and the room for questions. We strongly encourage you to participate. And as mentioned before, if you struggle to ask your questions in English, we can also provide the translation for it. We are joined by Shay Dashevsky, a culinary expert in Mediterranean and Georgian cuisine, who also shares his knowledge as a cooking instructor. Shay grew up in Tel Aviv, in Israel, where he lived until 2007, and he was very actively involved with leftist political groups. After October 7, his life, as for many others, changed. As he puts it, I didn't leave the left left me. Since then, he has been visiting universities in Berlin and Potsdam with the project I'm From Israel, Ask Me Anything, aiming to foster dialogue and mutual understanding. Through this initiative and his involvement in Voices from Israel and Gaza, he is committed to countering extremism by creating spaces for an honest and open dialogue. Rosa Jellinek, some of you might know Rosa from her social media content Juli Makeup, a very accessible format to learn new things about Jewish life. She's also a political educator, working both offline and online on topics such as Jewish diversity, queerness, anti-Semitism, as well as internet activism and hate speech. Currently, she's a content creator with the Jewish Museum Berlin, Jüdisches Museum Berlin. Hi.
Hi. Is it on?
You have to.
Okay. Thank you, Hanan. Hanan Liguori was raised partly within a Muslim Palestinian household and brings a perspective shaped by diasporic identity amid a long-standing political conflict. With her background in cultural history and a lifelong commitment to social work, Hanan critically engages with the complexities of disability, racism, and intra-Muslim issues. Since October 7th, her work is focused on unpacking oversimplified political narratives, often intertwined with anti-Semitic worldviews within leftist and queer spaces. Thank you for being here. And Hamza Howidy is a peace advocate and community leader committed to dialogue, coexistence, and social progress. Hamza has been actively involved in efforts to counter extremism, including taking a stance against Hamas during past conflicts in Gaza. Through his work, Hamza continues to promote empathy, understanding, and constructive solutions in regions affected by division and violence. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, today the two of you are sitting here together in Berlin. How did this happen? How did this come to be? Can you maybe each share a bit about how your experiences growing up in Gaza and Israel shaped your path, also in the context of the ongoing conflict? And we are especially interested in how your activism took shape before October the 7th and how it may have shifted since.
Okay, yeah, so there's a couple questions there, but I was active long time ago in Israel in a very left-wing Trotsky kind of socialist movement, and I would say that what was different from what I see now is pretty much a lot of the things I grew up on in the left movement don't really manifest or exist in the today's left. So, yeah, for example, you know, movement for peace, fighting extremism, things like that. So when 7th of October happened, I noticed that I don't have really a place in the left because I wouldn't say, yeah, it's not just that the left left me. Many people from the left start to see me as an enemy just because I'm from Israel, or yeah, I stand for the right of Israel to exist, stuff like this, and the non-existent space for peace talk or peace movement that I didn't find in the left. So yeah, I don't know if it answered all the question, but definitely what happened, what was the activity before and how I see it today.
For me, I started also before October when I was in Gaza, but mostly it was just a local activism, joining a movement, We Want to Live movement, which was an anti-Hamas movement and a movement calling for better economical situation in Gaza, elections, stuff like that, in a way or another to find an alternative to Hamas. We started in 2019 and we continued until 2023, until June actually. In 2023, that was the last protest I joined. They continued actually. Yeah, I left Gaza with the intention to not have any opinion or not to hear about Palestine or Israel. But yeah, October the 7th happened, and with all the stuff that came after, I realized that I should be active again in a way or another, because maybe of the complexities and the oversimplification that I saw happening online, and the reaction actually to what happened from the beginning till now. And for one last reason, maybe it's a bit personal for me, because I realized that it's not easy for the majority of moderates in Gaza to say their opinions publicly, whether talking about Hamas or the war or Israel or anything. So I suffered, I would say, from this thing before, and I wish that someone might do it from the West to be avoid. It doesn't matter to be a Palestinian or whatever, but at least to do this mission. I wouldn't say that there isn't. There is some, but it's not enough, I would say. So that was the reason for me to be active again, and I shifted because before I left Gaza, all my activism was in Arabic for the Arab audience, the local audience. But from October, I shifted to start talking and writing in English, because I realized that there is like a sense of vacuum in the Western audience understanding of the Palestine-Israel thing, Palestine-Israel conflict, and the Gaza situation itself, and what came after the war. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Now that you talked about your activism against extremist governments and in Gaza, but also you in Israel, how do you perceive the demonstrations and the protests against Hamas in Gaza, but also against Netanyahu and the right-wing extremist government in Israel? And especially, what would you say is the difference to protests here in Germany?
I mean, yeah, it's a big question actually, because I won't go to generalization to give an opinion about every protest that happens here, or even to the West in general. But yeah, there is good things happening in these protests, but there is also bad stuff happening, and I could have seen actually the difference from the last protest in Gaza alone could have shown the difference between how the West thinks about Gaza, the war, Israel, and how the Gazans themselves think of it. On the one hand, I maybe focused with the protests in the US more than in Germany, but I also saw some stuff here in Berlin. First, I would assure that people have the right to free speech, to protest, to call for the end of the war, X and Y and Z. But I saw that this unfortunately went to beyond level, actually. I saw the people in Gaza, and that was actually during the war. I'm not talking about the protests that I participated in. Talking about the protests that happened during a bombardment, during starvation, during horrific circumstances. People protesting and saying that Hamas is a terrorist regime, we want Hamas out, we want this war to stop, and we want to rebuild our city. That happened in Gaza. On the other hand, I saw some protests, let's say, in Berlin doing exactly the opposite, literally the opposite. I saw the people in Gaza saying Hamas is a terrorist regime. Some protests here were saying glorifying Sinwar, some chanting for the resistance, or Qassam, the same people who are oppressing the Palestinians right now and who started this war. I mean, it's not a secret that they did that. So yeah, I saw this difference, and I couldn't actually understand if there is one or more reasons behind what's happening, because I don't think that the people who did these actions or participated in these protests couldn't notice what's happening in Gaza, couldn't notice the anti-Hamas protest in Gaza and what the people are calling for, because it was massive and it was online. It was available for whoever wants to see it. This is one thing. On the other hand, that was maybe mostly from some parts of the left, let's say. On the other hand, you have parts of the right who, let's say, maybe did not notice that there is a war actually happening in Gaza. Like they totally avoid talking about it, which is also wrong, because what I'm trying to say here is not to have an opinion, not have an opinion or to avoid the war, but to criticize in a good way that might benefit the people. If you looked, for example, in what they were calling for, let's say in the US, the leftist maximalist demands, I would say, people chanting, dismantle the Zionist entity, destroy Israel, or whatever, I forgot these slogans. They misused an opportunity that they could have chanted for something that could be benefit for the Palestinians. I'm not saying go change the team and be pro-Israel. It's up to everyone. But they missed these calls, and until now, from 7th of October until now, there might be thousands, if not tens of thousands, of protests happened in the West. Pro-Palestinian protest. I couldn't see a single pro-Palestinian protest saying that Hamas is a terrorist regime or should be out of Gaza, despite all the horrific things that Hamas did to the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, if I can add also, I mean, I actually saw one protest in the pro-Palestinian, I think it was in England, I forgot his name, but he's very predominant pro-Palestinian activist, and he held a sign says, stop the genocide in Israel, and talking about one of the
Uday Nasser Rabai. He was talking about Uday.
Uday, yeah?
Yes.
Uday, the full name I will not be able to say.
Rabai.
Yeah, but he protested against Hamas, and Hamas, executed him just for this, and he held a sign having both of those things, and the crowd just kicked him out and called him Zionist, and I mean, he was arrested like more than 100 times in pro-Palestinian demos, but that was not enough for them. So yeah, I think the weirdest thing for me is that it's not representing the people who can actually solve the problem. Like in Israel, when they demonstrate against the government and for stopping the war, they don't. It's not a hate demonstration against the Palestinians, and the same thing from the other side. Like when you see them demonstrate, they don't shout those slogans. They just want to end the war, and it seems like those are the best people to meet and have some ground for some real solution that can stop the war. But in the West, people just ignore it, and they use this for their own political terms, and I think in many ways they prolong it. That is what they need. This violent part, and those demonstrations are, just create more violence and doesn't give a solution. So for me it's very weird coming from the left in Israel and hearing calls like intifada after living through that and knowing the consequences. Doesn't matter how left you are in Israel, you would not scream it. It's just insanity, and so I find it so far away from what really happens to on the ground that I cannot relate to any of this, and it have to be a different movement. I don't think that we can even change it. We have to be another movement that calls for peace, because every time you call for peace or talk against Hamas, you get kicked out and you call the Zionist. That's not enough for them. So, yeah.
I just want to go back to one thing because Rosa asked what is the difference between protesting here and there. The last difference actually is what is the cost of protesting. In Gaza, there is a cost for protesting against Hamas. If we are talking about the protest before the war, you will mostly pay this price by Hamas themselves, and it's a heavy price. And during the war, the price comes actually from the two, from the Israeli army during the bombardment and all the bad stuff, and also from Hamas, who, for example, we just mentioned Uday Nasser Rabai, who's just a young guy who decided to protest during the war. He did not say, I want peace with Israel. He just said two things. We want this war to stop. We want Hamas out of the government. Uday was tortured to death, and the video of his body after that, it's beyond horrific. So the reason I say that is to give the people an idea of how much the people in Gaza paid the price to deliver this message to the West, and unfortunately huge parts actually did not listen to that. So the people paid with their own lives just to deliver this message, and there's still little to no realization of what the people of Gaza want at the moment.
It's wild how there's so little support for these protests against Hamas in the West. And also one more thing I wanted to add, like bringing in a German perspective, is something I would say we can definitely also... I was about to ask if the people in the back can actually hear us well. It's okay, we will try to speak louder or closer to the microphone. Is that something we can also see in Germany? Because we've been talking about the pro-Palestinian protests and how there's a lot of anti-Semitism there in protests here in Germany, but also in the US and in other Western countries. And I think something we always have to add is also how right-wing and conservative parties in Germany use these protests and the anti-Semitism happening there for racist narratives and to quiet pro-Palestinian protests, which is something I think is always important to not forget or to talk about, especially as people here from, like, probably a lot of people here are from the left party. Anyways, you have both talked about your analog activism, like within the real, not internet world. But for me, especially as a content creator, of course, social media is also important, and the analog and social media world are not as dividable anymore as they might have been back in the days. That's why I wanted to ask Shay, you also collect and analyze anti-Semitic things happening online. How do you perceive the social media coverage of the conflict and the war and like general developments on social media platforms? And then I will ask the next question to Hamza after that.
In general?
No, like especially about the
Yeah.
conflict, how you perceive the social media coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic, but I think I think it's all about algorithms today, and I'm pretty sure you all know if you go to the pro-Palestinian side and you go deeper and deeper. For me, it's like Mein Kampf. I have like basically you see the same rhetoric that anti-Semitic rhetoric, okay, about Zionism, about Zios, how they want to control the world. It's not just about Palestine and Israel. It's like it's an echo chamber of just hate speech. For me, there is element of a hate movement there. I don't even call it left. I cannot call it left. It's not the left that I know. So yeah, and it's really much alive on social media. Literally, people post Hamas propaganda from Hamas spokesmen. Al Jazeera. It's a parallel universe for me. I have another account that is like only following pro-Palestinian. Yeah, you can find everything there, basically. I mean, all the anti-Semitic tropes you can find when you are in those circles. And I think that's the problem. Most people that are on the streets and the demos, that's what they see. And just to correct, maybe in the beginning you said that the right wing is using the anti-Semitism and the left, kind of blaming them. Yeah, I think you should not do that, but why the left just not stop doing that? Why you don't, why you go with the Iranian flag? For example, who needs a left like this? Like, I don't need a left that goes with Iran. So I understand that, yeah, of course the right wing, and we can blame the right wing, but you also need to start, and it's like coming from a good place. I want to go back to the left, yeah? Maybe the left threw me away, but I want to go back. But as long as you continue with marching with Islamists, or people who call for death of Jews, or people call for, they celebrate when rockets fall on civilians, and they march with people that celebrate or support the Iranian regime. For me, it's not a left. So you have to start also taking responsibility for that.
Maybe just
Yeah,
to
sorry.
clarify, you don't have to tell me about
I
the
know.
anti-Semitism in the left. I've been seeing this for years. What I meant was more how the right is using the conflict itself, not only anti-Semitism, but the conflict itself to reinforce racist narratives and to excuse police brutality against protests and so on. That's more what I meant than only the anti-Semitism, because obviously
But
the left
I know.
shouldn't be anti-Semitic.
I know. But there's another solution, just don't be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, of course, obviously.
So easy.
Hamza, of course, media is not only social media, but also media and news outlets. How do you perceive the media coverage of the war and the conflict in German news, but also Israeli media and Arab media? And maybe just to add to that, so that I don't talk as much, a question to both of you. What would you say how we can stay informed, and which sources are reliable in your opinion?
I would just go back for a moment about the right and the left, because yes, I love actually to criticize the left a lot, but I have to admit that at least in the parts of the left, they mention that there is a war. Some of them can protest, have reasonable demands to what's happening. Unlike, unfortunately, the right, as I said, who have no mention at all. Some actually criminalize the watermelon symbol. So it became a symbol of, to some people, it became a symbol of terrorism. And this is, for me, is pure stupidity. I can't find a polite word for that. This is one thing. And about the pro-Palestine movement, I mean, because maybe there is a slight difference between me and Shay here, because I understand that Shay has no hope because of what he said during the past 20 months or more. But I would say that my main focus is to redefine what means to be a pro-Palestinian for those people, because I would say that they have a clear misunderstanding of that, and they confused being pro-Hamas to pro-Palestinian, which is a way of dehumanizing the Palestinians. This is one thing. And about the media in Germany, in Israel, it's actually a lot of questions. Let's start with Germany, because in Germany, unfortunately, I'm not happy at all of the coverage of the war, because the same fight between the right and the left went to the media. You have a huge parts of the right who actually started when October the 7th happened, started to push aside one Palestinian journalist, at least that I know. He was sided from the media outlet that he works with without even writing any opinion about October or what came after October. He doesn't have any opinion yet. But for them, they try to be cautious that he might write or say something wrong. So for sure, I heavily criticize that. And in some other medias, I would say they don't have an opinion. They don't have a real coverage, to be honest, because I see them copy and paste from whether the IDF said or Al Jazeera said. That's it. There is no real reporting or journalism work happening in Germany. Yeah, for Israel, it's way worse for me because I mean, I'm a Gazan and I understand that in the Israeli media they do not report about what's happening in Gaza, and that takes the society step away from what's happening because they don't see it. Because they don't see, I mean, yes, some people see it from social media, but still when you put the society a step away, you, in a way or another, push the lack of sympathy with what's happening. I mean, we all want Hamas to be away, but still there is rules and there is morality background that should exist. That's for the Israeli media. If we went to the Arab media, especially Al Jazeera, I mean, this is the problem of Gaza, that we only have journalists for Al Jazeera, and Al Jazeera is trying to just post whatever Hamas wants. That's it. It's because in Gaza, the journalism work is totally controlled. You cannot report easily something anti-Hamas. Even in the protest that we just mentioned about the anti-Hamas protest, the people who protested, I think, 10 times or more in 10 different places. Every time Al Jazeera reports this protest says anti-war protest. And they take the 10 seconds when the people say we want the war to stop, but they miss the 10 seconds when they say we don't want Hamas in the future. So this is one thing about Al Jazeera, and it failed actually also to report about the countless people who Hamas executed, tortured, shot. That happens quite every day. They failed to report on when Hamas stole the humanitarian aid, and the list goes on. There is a long list of crimes that they did not report. So this is the reality of Gaza, and because of the other reality that the Israeli government is not allowing foreign journalists to enter the Gaza Strip, so we are left with Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera reports, then Reuters take it, and then you will find it in the Western world. Whatever Hamas wants you to see, you are seeing it right now. That's it. Yeah. I'm
oh God, sorry. Maybe I would like to add something that quite frustrates me, especially also with social media or the format of social media, that fact-checking is something that is not being used anymore, and also completely forgotten how Islamofascist regimes like Iran have strategies, and how they created strategies over the past 20, 30 years to really create a new kind of way of pursuing this Islamist ideas and infiltrating Western news. And I'm very frustrated about how you open Instagram and you check something, and then you're like, oh yeah, okay, that has been posted by, I don't know, Al Jazeera or a friend of mine that I trust, and now I can just repost it without thinking or just remembering that there are some interests behind these kinds of little share pics and information. And but to come back to this question of how can we stay informed, maybe also, and which sources could we check, or what is reliable?
It's a hard question because I myself don't have the answer for that. But for me, I would say how I get the news about Gaza. I mean, mostly I do it from local Telegram channels, people that I somehow trust whatever they report, because as I said in the international media, it's all the sources is coming from Al Jazeera and another channel that I forgot. So for me, I know when I read this in news, I'm reading whatever Hamas wants me to see, so I totally avoid that. And I go to that, sometimes also to some local social media accounts, because I mean those people are people on the ground, so I have very good reason to believe in what they post. And another way to improve it is to pressure to get international journalists to Gaza, so we do not get into this distraction, let's say.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer. Each one, yeah. It's very politicized. I mean, there's pretty much every news outlet will be biased in some way. It's very hard to say. I do try to watch also like you know, the stuff that I don't like, just to see what is said. It's also very important. Yeah, maybe that's the way, like, to try to see what the other side says and then think for yourself a little bit, pretty much. But I think pretty much it's very hard to find something objective. I would plug in the Realign for Palestine Instagram that have a lot of moderate voices that talk about peace from the Palestinian perspective. If it's okay.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Please do.
You all know? Yeah, it's you want it? Yeah, Realign for Palestine.
You want to give another?
Yeah, I know. I work there. Actually.
Yeah,
On Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, yes, we are trying, because this is the problem for the Palestinians in the diaspora. Maybe it's not even limited to Palestinians. The Iranians also suffer the same problem, that Palestinians in the diaspora are totally away from each other and do not agree on a lot of things, and everyone is working in a total metaverse world away from the other. So yes, in Realign we are trying to give this umbrella for the moderate voices in Palestine, both on the ground and in the diaspora. And the idea for it is also to go beyond what will happen after this war, because yes, I call for the end of the war, but I also call for to see what will happen after this war, because I don't want to see the same circle happens again. We rebuild Gaza, Hamas stays there 2 or 3 years, there is another war, Hamas and Israel, and that's it. So we are, in a way or another, trying to shape a Palestinian voice, a moderate one, one who breaks from the old taboos that we are calling for since 1890 till now. So to try to go with a pragmatic way, a radical pragmatic way, as Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib, who's the leader for the project, prefers to say, yes, to create a better future for the Palestinians.
Yeah, okay, let's go a bit more deeper into something we just touched a bit superficially, Shay, especially because you were so much part of a leftist movement. What were points where you realized that your views are no longer represented? Because for me, for example, it was a general shift to more authoritarian structures being excluded, for example, but also a missing distance, or a distance from, taking a distance from, Islamist regimes, or also, a very big space to project a lot of hate and anger into this, especially into this conflict, because I barely hear voices about, colonialist movements within the Middle East that are happening every day under our eyes, talking about what's happening to the Druze community right now in Sweden, or the Kurdish people, which is ongoing. But why do I not hear any voices from our left groups about these kind of things happening? And for me, that was part of realizing, okay,
First of all, about the Druze, I hear a lot actually about the news, And by the way, Israel is responsible for all the problems there, if you didn't know. According to the news, when they do
not only there.
not only there, but now
So-
everything that happens is
Yeah.
Israel. Israel is the reason why the regime is slaughtering the Jews right now, the Druze in Sweden. So but that's maybe why I think I had already problems before 7th of October with the left, or the left had problem with me, but I was still there. And there's all this black and white thinking that for me was a big problem before. And now looking back, it seems very fitting for 7th of October. When 7th of October happened, in this place, in this progressive left place, it fit very good with the narrative of, oppressor, colonialism, everything they demonized for decades. So it's justified, That's what they say. Doesn't matter that civilians are burned or killed. They're below humans. That's the best thing to do, to fight colonialism, and they're all colonialists. So looking back, I find that just part of the progressive left narrative for me, and they would never see the problems that they have, not talking about, not taking responsibility, because it's very black and white. And if you do, you get kicked out. Yeah, or you're called Islamophobe just because you talk about Islamists. That's just a reality. And I know it's hard to hear it, especially for a lot of people that are still in the left, but we have to stop thinking that way. Coming out of the left and talking to other people, it looks very problematic when that's the thinking, when it's so black and white. And later you called everyone who don't disagree a Nazi. It works to some extent, but at some point people just have enough of this. And then obviously the right wing or the people, the more conservative people step in, and we lose a lot of people. I think there's also a shift in the left, at least what I see in America, and the liberal left, that they separate from all this thinking, because maybe we need to talk about this at some point, but it cannot be the answer for everything. Every time something happens, it's the colonialism or black or white. There's a lot of nuance that just the left is missing. Yeah.
Rosa, do you want to add something? Because me and Rosa, we're both actually still members of the party Die Linke. And maybe
Sorry, I'm so harsh.
I think for me, I've been active within the left party for like 2 years now, maybe a little longer, I think. I'm not sure, but I was in left spaces before for a long time, and I think about leaving the party a lot, and I think about, I don't know, like building a house somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just not reading news or anything anymore a lot. But at the end of the day, for me, there's no other view on politics and society possible than a leftist perspective. And I don't want my leftist activism to be defined what other people who perceive themselves as leftist, and I don't want them to define my political views, which is why I still see myself as part of the left, and I think there's still ways of changing narratives within the left, which is also why I'm very happy that we do an event like this today. And I think sometimes it's really hard and there's a lot of conflict, and then sometimes you are also surprised that there's still people that, well, for example, are able to criticize Netanyahu and also don't be anti-Semites. Like it's actually pretty easy, but anyways, yeah. So I think for me, I haven't left the leftist movement yet, and I think there's still room or hope to change the narratives and don't let it all be taken over by extremists and
we got you, yeah. Authoritarian
groups.
Yeah, I can completely sign what you said. Also, maybe a parallel example for criticizing Netanyahu without being anti-Semitic would also be to still, for Germany, to still criticize failed migration politics or continuity of racism within German structures without having to blame or to always put the blame on a specific topic or a specific circle around Israel or Palestine. Like it's not a singular issue within Germany. For example, my dad, he's from Lebanon, Busha Shamali. It's like a refugee camp in Lebanon for Palestinians, and the systems there are completely wrecked. He had no citizenship. He had no access to economical status or whatsoever, and this is something a lot of people are maybe not aware of or decide to leave that outside of the narratives, of the discussions, and it's extremely frustrating also because of course this has an impact on the people who live here in Germany. Like my family are extremely frustrated with German politics, with the fact that they didn't have access to work right away, that it took so long, and being kept in this parallel universe is extremely frustrating. I think a lot of it is now loading or flushing into this as a motivation for the protests, and I wish also here for a complex understanding from our leftist people who can see and criticize, and see still, okay, what is the wrongdoing of the German government here, and it's not a secret being governed by CDU that there will be racism happening daily, and we don't have to blame Israel for this in a way, So yeah, this is also my stand to this. You want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I might be a leftist, but I would say what you are talking about, if I may notice correctly, is also to redefine what a leftist means, because it was misused, and I mean, one of the problems that we did not see a real stance for some leftist parties regarding some specific events, like the Druze thing, is how the some leftist parties, some leftist circles here opened the door for some Islamist organizations to join and some Islamist groups to somehow be a safe haven for them. Not only actually in Germany, we are talking about the West in general. It became the safe haven for them. I mean, if you went to the Gulf now, you can't see these groups operating there. I mean, except for Qatar, but here you see them everywhere. I'm talking not only about Germany, I'm talking about even the US. The Muslim Brotherhood is not a terrorist organization there. They operate freely and it's going well with them. And they, in a way or another, align with some parts of the left because they see the naivety in some circles that gives them a chance in a way or another. And the other problem is how they also, as Shay also explained, use some specific events as a stage for just to play whatever ideas they have in mind, for example, the imperialism, and to apply that to whatever fight, war, problem, internal problems like the one in Syria, to apply this definition there, which is not mature enough, I would say. I mean, there is many things that can be added to this story to explain it more, and also the space that they give, because this also was a problem, the space that some leftist groups gave. I mean, we are sitting here just a few days after there was an intifada event here in Berlin for some people from the same party. You can see the absurdity of what's happening. Those people think that it is a stage, what's happening in Gaza and Israel, and it's a play, so you can do another event here about intifada. We are literally talking about a war, a people on the brink of extermination, and those want to make another intifada, not in the Middle East, but to export it here to Germany. So you can imagine how crazy they went. It's actually a necessity to redefine for them what a leftist means. Yeah, that's it.
There was a lot of what we talked about sounds kind of depressing, to be honest. And so looking at the clock, and that we still want to have time for all of your questions and for you to be part of this discussion, I want to ask both of you, but also Hanan, what do you think, how we can work towards new and more complex narratives, but also if there is, and what that is that gives you hope for the left, if there is something.
Leftists could speak, not me.
Maybe Shay, you want to start?
What was the question?
How we can work towards more complex narratives, and if there is something that gives you hope for that to happen.
I don't have an answer really for this, but I would just say we have to have, okay, I'm very critical on the left, and to the point where I don't consider myself a left, don't consider myself a right, I don't have necessarily any political affiliation with no movement or party, but I do think we need, whatever it is left, I don't know where it's gonna come from, a movement for peace, because that's like the answer for the extremism. Yeah, that's where you can see the line between the people who want to continue with violence and people who wants to have a peaceful solution, and it have to be very, very strong. And that's your work on the left to distance yourself from the people who don't want this, who will do anything to have their moral ground with their ideology to avoid talking about peace. If you can do that and you find enough people and this movement will be big, then I will have hope. I do have hope that I see people now hearing us, but it's not enough. And the work is if you want to do it on the left, it's the people from inside or the more moderate voices. It doesn't have to be progressive left. It can be non-political. It doesn't have to be associated with like left or right or center. You don't have to put some labels on it.
I would say room for debate is heavily needed in a way where we can meet and talk and, you know, find basic interests like end the war, you know, and the cruelty, where we can actually think about solutions, and I think there are good solutions also and good ideas for what can happen after, and there are very good organizations on the ground within Israel or within America or within Realigned for Palestine. Like there are very, very strong opinions and very, very progressive opinions also that we have to, you know, take in and amplify. And yeah, every one of us should take this and talk with other people about it, and yeah, just talk, bring the discussion back, debate, meet. Don't do it over social media. Yeah, I would say that's a big part of it for me.
I mean, I will keep it as simple as this. Just it's possible for two things to be true at the same time. That's it. You can just criticize Hamas and you can criticize the Israeli government. You can call for this war to stop, and you can also call for Hamas to go out of Gaza. It's I'm not saying do a magic trick. It's possible for two things to be true at the same time. And yeah, I don't want actually to lecture the left. I mean, as I said, I don't count myself as a leftist. And yeah, what brings hope? It's a good question. I would say about maybe the region in the Middle East. I would speak about the region, not about the left. The only thing that gives hope for me is to see how the Arab countries, even the international actors, all agree on having a new Gaza. And by new Gaza, I'm not talking about the Rivera and the crazy stuff. No, I'm talking about that the majority of the Gulf countries, America, even Egypt, they all agreed that Hamas has no future in the Gaza Strip. And yeah, I think that the Gulf countries have a good opportunity to pressure Israel, to pressure America, to get something, I wouldn't say peace, because it became to an extent naive word now, but I would say at least to downsize the scale of violence, to stop this bloodshed that has been going for too long, and yeah, maybe to be a step towards an end of this conflict. So with this hope, we also should be realistic with what's happening, because I don't think that this hope can be applied with the two regimes in Gaza or in Israel staying there. I think for the better of the two societies, those two should leave us for a long time. And yes, because it's even thinking of it, I sometimes put myself in the shoes of an Israeli guy. It's not a government that I would be proud of. I mean, I'm talking about religious fanatics who have a different view of the world, and the same applies to us in Gaza. I'm talking about people who just say yesterday, Hamas' spokesman said that we don't have a problem. Our society is willing to have hunger, and let's see how it ends. So we are talking about two crazy groups who have, I will talk about mine at least. I would say mine have no sympathy or valuation to a human life. I mean, they say it proudly. We love death more than they love life. So we should be realistic on this situation. And yeah, sorry for being pessimistic.
Maybe just to add one hopeful comment. Maybe just to add one hopeful comment in the end, I think the left in Germany, we have to learn to criticize each other more in solidarity, and especially to accept and reflect that criticism to move forward as a leftist movement. Yes, by saying that, I want to thank the both of you for going into this discussion with us and talking to us, also to Hanan for doing this, and to the Progressive Linke for organizing this. But before we end the whole event, of course, now it's your time to ask questions and take part in this debate. Just as an FYI, I will watch my watch closely, and I ask you to not speak for longer than 2 minutes, and try to rather ask questions than putting out your political statements, just as an FYI. There's a microphone, and also if you want to ask the question in German, we can then translate it.
Hi. So I'm also a peace activist from Israel. I'm old enough to remember when peace was not, when peace was still allowed to be said. And it's now, at best, like you said, it's naive, and at worst, it's really a schimpfwort, a swear word. So I'm asking you, how do you think we got here as far as peace work goes? That peace became something at best naive? And how do we rebrand peace to make it a possible reality again?
Nee, ich würde eine mal antworten und dann die nächste.
I mean, it's a very big question, to be honest. Like it alone needs an hour to answer. But for me, in my opinion, I would say that in a way or another, the extremists on the two sides hijacked what was happening. I mean, after the Oslo Accords, if we remember, just a few months after or a few years after, Rabin was assassinated by a crazy right-winger, and in the Palestinian side, the Iranian regime started to support Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the second Intifada started, bombings everywhere. So people took a stance from peace and thought that this might not be the best option because of what they saw. So yes, and a very big platform that was given to those right-wingers. I mean, if we looked at Gaza, before the war, no one was talking about, okay, let's get Hamas out of Gaza. Everyone was dealing, okay, it's a status quo, they are living there, and that's it. The same even if you went to the Netanyahu government. I mean, he was, Smotrich was proudly saying Hamas is an asset, so they were happy with seeing each other in position. So I would say that it's actually something to put on the shoulders of the left, how they also failed here. And yes, they were busy having these simplified problems to the extent that right-wingers now hijacked the spectrum, and we stopped imagining how it was before them. We stopped imagining how would it be if the leftists were enrolled. For us, I mean, I would say that there was also a problem for us, the Palestinians, and also for the Arab Israelis actually, or the Palestinian Israelis, however they want to define themselves, that we also failed to work with the Israeli left. We failed to work with the Israeli left. We were much focused with fighting the Israeli right wing, but we forgot about the Israeli left, and yeah, here we are.
So just from like a social media standpoint, I'm curious about how you think about like the danger of getting like siphoned into just a bubble, because I think that's like one of the biggest problems I see is that especially from people who experience this from the outside, the reality is just shaped by perspectives that just conform to their confirmation bias, and so as people with nuanced perspectives, is there like a certain strategy or a certain like approach you have to trying to break those bubbles and like you said, offer a new perspective of like what it can mean to be left and have a position on this issue. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's this bubble create all the extreme voices, and I think sadly, because I do this project, I'm from Israel, Ask Me Anything, in universities, there's a lot of people that you cannot just do anything. They really went beyond, and they are so, I don't know how to even say it, they so much into hate that I don't think we can change much, but there's a lot of naive people that go with those people, and if we don't give alternative, they will continue listen to those voices, continue to think that Intifada is cool, and let's do event about globalizing Intifada. We have to just tackle it as much as possible. If that's what they hear all the time, I think it's if you have people that you know and you're surrounded, the best thing is just to debate and to do it from a good place and to hopefully de-radicalize, because if it continues like this, I'm really worried about not just Germany, but the West, and especially Germany, because I live here. So yeah, for me it's like the personal connection, and to try everything you can to get people out of this bubble.
I will also answer this question. I think there is a huge danger of getting like too deep inside of these bubbles, and I think that for me, for example, I have different accounts, like lurking accounts on Instagram, where I also follow like people I 100% don't agree with, but looking at them sometimes reinforces my own opinions, but also brightens my horizon and shows me, okay, what else is out there, and makes me reflect on my own opinions and what I think, not only about this conflict, but also other political things. And I think that's very important, to try and leave your own bubble here and there, to, how do you say hinterfragen in English? Question? Wow. I thought maybe there was a word for like hinterfragen and not just whatever. To just question yourself and try to reflect on which bubbles you're in. Yeah, I think we will take the question in the back, and then I will read a question from the chat.
Yeah, we were talking a lot about the factions that try to obstruct or destroy any kind of political solution, either be it Hamas or be it illegal settlements, military trials. What would you say are the factions right now working on giving a long-term political solution, which is not just about ethnically cleansing one side or another, to give like some positive hope of what kind of factions we can support? And my second quick question was, there was like, I just read it, that there was like an offer being made by the extremist Hamas to give up power to the Fatah in the Gaza Strip. How sincere do you, Hamza, think that offer was, and do you think that would have been a possibility?
I will just answer this last question quickly. If you looked at the ceasefire when they were handing the hostages and receiving Palestinian prisoners, they had the banner, a very big banner, and they wrote clearly on it, "We are here, we are the day after." That was not long ago, and I would say that what Hamas says when they say we want to give up, yes, they are willing actually to give up the government, because they want to have the Hezbollah model in Gaza. They want to get rid of the responsibilities of being a government for a society and to still be a militia above the state in Gaza. So that's what they are trying to say. If they are willing to say that, the first step towards that is to say, okay, we are willing to hand over the hostages and our guns and let the new government comes. But once you mention the guns for them, they will say, no, we can never hand over our guns. And this is a question for someone who says, okay, I'm willing to step out from the government. Okay, if you are willing to step out, why do you want to have these guns? This is a trick that Hamas uses always, because they did, let's say, this mistake of taking the government responsibilities in Gaza and realized how it was very heavy on them despite the money they took. So they want the Hezbollah model, and now they are calling for it. I would believe that they are willing to leave Gaza once they say, okay, we are willing to hand over our guns and let a new Palestinian leadership rebuild what we destroyed. I forgot.
It was a positive question about which factions you can support in Israel and Palestine right now.
For me in Palestine, I would support whatever moderate group of Palestinians that can offer itself. And when I say that, because some people think of Palestinians as only Hamas and Fatah or Hamas and Palestinian Authority. No, we have way more than that, and I think those people should have a chance, actually. I'm not a big fan of the Palestinian Authority. It deserves a lot of criticism, but I wouldn't compare it to Hamas, I would say. So yes, for me, as long as this new group or government prioritizes the people's need over fighting Israel, I will support it.
Shay, it's auch.
No, I think no.
There's a question from the chat, from the live stream. Someone asked a question from the student group Students for Dialogue, who do similar events at universities, and they sometimes receive backlash. And the question is, how do we foster dialogue when dialogue itself can be polarizing?
I guess the backlash, I guess it's from pro-Palestinian groups, but I said before that there's voices that we cannot change. They are very extreme, and I think it's probably those voices. I would just my way is a little bit more militant, and I just say let them do what they do. Shout, be aggressive. Whatever you want to do, if you want to have dialogue for peace, just do it, and don't be afraid. We have to stop being afraid, and I know this a lot in universities. I went to universities where Jewish students came to me and said, thank you for being here, because we are afraid to even say we're Jewish. And it shouldn't be like this without even knowing what's their stand. People are judging them. And I had a group that came to me in Potsdam and started to scream and said they approved 7th of October and they want more of this. And what the good thing about that is that people see that, and it makes people understand how dark it is. And I had two of those experiences that afterwards people who were standing there and they did want to talk to me, they came to me and they said, I can't believe I heard those things. I don't want to be part of this. So it doesn't work for them. If they are aggressive, if they are violent, if they are threatening, it's their problem. It's not working. It doesn't convince anyone. And I think we should expose them. We might not change them, but we can expose them. We have to start standing for our values. Nothing is wrong for having a dialogue, and just go through it and do it. And I'm sure it's just a small minority, and most people will want to come to this group and hear a dialogue.
Okay, sorry. Good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank all four of you for holding this debate, and I think it was has been a very worthwhile debate so far, and it has been profoundly enlightening and very worthwhile. And my question goes to Hamza, and so I mean, I think in the German context, what makes you stand out is that you are one of the few publicly known, like almost famous, I would say, profoundly moderate Palestinian voices. I wanted to ask you about the Palestinian diaspora here in Germany, but also in other places, because I don't have, I'm not on the inside, so to speak. I can't judge it for myself. Do you feel that there are many moderate Palestinians, such as you, in the Palestinian diaspora worldwide, who do not dare to speak up? Or what do you think, why are voices such as yours so, well, in a way, solitary, it appears at least? when it comes to Palestinians speaking about the situation in Gaza, or also about relations of domination within Palestinian society?
I think that this is actually what I discovered in the diaspora, that I wouldn't talk about the newcomers who just made it 1 or 2 years ago, because there is a very big problem with those groups. But in the people who were here for quite good time, I saw tremendous capabilities among those people. There is intellectuals, people who, I was surprised how those people did not achieve anything until the moment. That was shocking for me. So yes, we have them. Why they don't speak? Actually, there is a lot of reasons. It depends on each one of them. I mean, one problem is the cost of speaking, because he might be in the diaspora but have a family in Gaza or the West Bank. And it comes with a very high cost, so many people try to avoid it. Others, for example, they do not want to be tokenized, because a problem that happens to some moderates, including me, when I talk about, for example, criticizing Hamas, and you will find me criticizing the government or the settlers or whatever, you will find some circles who will take the part where I criticize Hamas, and then they will go with this self-hating Palestinian who did a change team thing or whatever. So those people are aware of this problem and they don't want to get into it. And it's a serious one, to be honest, because it's intimidating a lot of people, because they would say, okay, I will, and that also happens to me. Okay, some people greatly listen when I speak against Hamas, maybe not, I would say mostly in social media, but once I speak about the government or settlers or whatever, they stop listening. Or I will find all my reply section with a one comment repeated 1 million times, release the hostages, as if I have them with me in the refugee shelter in Gladbeck. So yes, they have lots of problems, and I think it depends on each one of them.
Yeah, so I want to start with saying that I'm also still a member of the left, and I also, especially a couple of months ago, was at a very low point, and with the developments, for some reason now I have a little bit more hope that maybe there could be a change in the political, in the left party in Germany, but maybe just dreams, but I still have some hope. But this left party is now planning to do a pro-Palestine protest, which is, in principle, I support that idea, because I think it should be possible to raise the voice for Palestinians, and also they say they want to do it in such a way that there's no pro-Hamas and no anti-Semitism. So I think this is in principle a good goal, but I still kind of doubt that this is possible, and it's kind of also very happy that this question was just asked, because it's kind of do you think it is possible to do such a protest, especially because it should, of course, include voices from Palestine, from Gaza, but now you just said that most of them are not, are afraid to speak for good reasons. So I think in principle it's good to you were talking about transporting complex narratives, which maybe protests could be one place. Of course, discussions like that also a place, but yeah, do you think such a protest is a good idea in the current situation?
I mean, I wouldn't tell people what to do or not to do, maybe not to do, yes, but I mean, yes, for sure it's possible. Why people make it an impossible idea to protest against the war, not being anti-Semite, not being a Hamas supporter? It's not impossible, actually. It can and should be done. And yeah, I will participate, actually.
Maybe I can also add to that. I think it's all about the awareness structures and how you organize the demonstration, and if there's enough good-willing people that organize this demonstration, then this should 100% be possible and has to be possible. And I think it's especially the left party is responsible to do a demonstration like that and to do better than other organizations.
But I mean, why it haven't been done yet by the left party? It's been so long. They should have done it on the first week after the 7th of October. Like, they chose not to do it. They could have choose demonstration for peace or whatever, like something that is more productive, something that is also against Hamas, also against the right-wing government. They chose not to do it with all their power. They have a lot of power, and they still choose not to. I don't see how it's going to change in the future, especially when you have politicians who openly support like the destruction of Israel. They posted the map of Israel without Israel, it's all Palestine. From the river to the sea, it's not something that is not predominant by the many of the activists. My question is, why did it not happen until now? It's just mind-boggling. I hope it will happen, but I don't see it coming from the left party.
Maybe I can add something, because I think this is actually something that hasn't just happened around or after 7th of October. I think it's a sign for something that has been part of a German left for a long time, which is kind of trying to embrace, migrant or Jewish life, but fail to, actually have these people within a structure, or like in a very, in places like the parliament, or in as a representation within the districts. And I think there was a kind of space that was not filled with these kinds of people from the diaspora. For example, I think around 90% of Jewish population in Germany are are migrants or having a migration background, and share a lot more with, I don't know, my family, for example, than with, for example, German families here. And this is a reality that is being overpainted by once the government, like Christian government, who's always upholding, Christian Jewish life, and it's like this kind of instrumentalization is going on since a long time before 7th of October. And I think in order to really find structures where we can work together, we have to, find the structures that have already been working first and foremost, like where we have been working together,
Hi, one of those disappointed leftists here, also Jewish Russian background. So something that's always very mind-boggling to me is that one thing is that leftists, of course, have the priority to comment on global conflict. However, it is just mind-blowing to me how this is the only conflict that matters, seemingly, and especially within those people who are already marginalized. So we have a lot of queer people, Queers for Palestine, and all those groups. So I have many thoughts why this is happening. The answer cannot just be anti-Semitism. It cannot just be that people are obsessed because it's Jews. However, what are your thoughts? Why is this the only conflict that has so much space in pop culture, in commentary, everywhere, and not, for example, Russia attacking Ukraine?
I mean, this is why I'm not a leftist, because that goes back to the origins of... this goes back, I think, for a long time, if that's also an opinion. How they, let's say, how they expanded as a term, as a left, as a political party. Let's say from late 60s to early 70s in the U.S., in the West, and in the East, there was something happening, which is the idea of revolution for the left. In the U.S., you had the Black Panthers, you had a lot of crazy groups. In the Middle East, you had the Islamists who were taking the power, whether we are talking about Egypt with Nasser and other groups, and the same applies here. And I think those people all circled under one idea, which is anti-West, anti-America, anti-capitalism, anti-whatever. And this is the conflict that goes back to this, to be anti-West, anti-America, anti-imperialism, because they see Israel as an imperial part for the West or for America. So this is the conflict that has all the criteria that fit for them. I mean, yeah, that's, I think, might be one of the reasons that they are much focused on this conflict other than what's happening in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Uganda, and now with the Druze in Syria, and the list goes on.
If I can also add another big word, that the left also embraced anti-Zionism way before as a political term. Like, you know, when they look at other conflicts, like the war between Russia and Ukraine, they don't have, it's not like they have a movement that says, oh, Russia should not exist, or when happens something in Yemen or Nigeria or Sudan, there's not a political movement that says, okay, then this country is the cause of all the problem, they should not exist, it's colonialism, it's just a war. And yeah, they don't care so much, they don't...
No, I just wanted to emphasize when they see it this way, the idea is not only colonialism or occupation, let's say, because yes, there is an occupation in the West Bank, but if you looked at other Arab countries, for example, you had Iranian occupation in Syria, you had it in Lebanon, you had it in Yemen, you had it in Iraq, you had it like way too much, it expanded, but there was, I think, little to no mention because it was not also linked to America or to the capitalist project. So for them, this occupation was nice, but the other occupation, because America is involved, is too bad. And they took it from the idea of revolution that started from the 60s to transform this revolution to freeing the people who are under occupation. I'm talking about the West Bank.
Yeah. I also, so I think going back to the anti-Zionism as a political term, I think that they see it, for me, it's way before even Israel established, this sentiment from the left, actually, not just from the right, is that anti-Zionism, like Zionism, it's something terrible, dirty, Zionists are terrible people, and then we should fight them, and this ideology. And they also meet with really right-wing people on the same point, and they have no problem when they do that on this point, being aligned with extreme right-wing. In this point, they don't care. It's the only conflict where any time there is something like that, they go to a place where, as I said, this is like something that we need to talk about decolonialization and delete Israel. And it sounds very moral to them. They think they're the most moral people. And when you ask them, and sometimes how would it look? Yeah, if you take all the Zionists, they think it's like, 2% of the Jews in Israel, but it's like 90+%. What do you do with them? And they need to really start thinking, like you send them with trains or you exterminate, you need to do something with them. Yeah, there's millions of Zionists, what can you do? And they just don't think about it too much. It's this ideology that are just, it just makes Israel always the bad person, and I think that's a big difference between this and and it shows the double standard. There's total double standard. Pretty much any conflict, like what happens in Nigeria or Sudan, where 150,000 people, that they don't have any demonstration. They probably don't know even how the flag look like. So, I mean, it's for me, it's also the double standard that shows that they're really, for me it's pure anti-Semitism and totally double standard.
Ja, als erstes vielen Dank euch vielen. Ich habe zwei Fragen.
Kannst du das Mikro gerade halten?
Hallo. Ja. gucke euch zwar nicht an, aber ich stelle euch trotzdem 2 Fragen. Und zwar an Hanan und Rosa. Ihr habt neben einigen anderen im Saal heute mehrfach gesagt, ihr seid noch Mitglied der Linken. Vielleicht eine Frage, die den Finger in die Wunde legt. Wie lange?
Good question.
Und die zweite Frage an alle 4. Wie sind eure Methoden, um mentally sane zu bleiben?
So the first question was.
Should I translate to English?
He's translating.
Well, the first question, it was for Rosa and Hanan. They are now part of the Linke party, and the question is for how long? If I can also add a small thing, what will make you leave the party? If not, whatever happened until now. And the second question?
The second,
How we stay sane.
Oh yeah,
What are your methods?
that's for all of us, except me maybe. I don't know.
I think it's actually a question I can't really answer. I think I will stay part of the party for as long as I feel like I can still be part of a change within the party and actually influence the discourse, and for as long as I still see people within the party with more nuanced and with more nuanced opinions. Yes.
I mean, sorry. I've been waiting so long for this connection and this kind of coming together, and I think this is a good start, and we need to continue. And I am totally open to continue also outside of the party. But for me, a lot of the structures are possible to be used to keep people active. Like they bring already a specific want for activism and a specific idea for the need of change. And I have to be honest, I haven't yet lost all of my hope to, kind of use this in order to sit together and talk. And I think what will make me leave would be probably if we go deeper with this kind of thing, with this format of talking together, and if we do it more often, and if I see there will be a lot of hate coming, and there will be a lot of aggression and threats or whatsoever, I don't know if I would still be part of the party. And the sanity, yeah. This is actually something interesting because for people who are kind of connected to this conflict within the diaspora or there, the question of how are you has become very complicated to answer, and there's not really an answer anymore. But this is healing, being in contact with people who have the amount of complexity that is needed to understand and still have distances, differences. There are a lot of differences between us, and that's okay. This is healing.
I would say it's not easy to be sane during that. Maybe for me, because of this personal attachment that I have to every day call the people that I know there, what's happening, who survived, who did not. It's annoying, but for me, I keep myself as much as I can busy working to avoid thinking too much about it, because at the end of the day I realize that what I can do or change, I can do it here. I can't have that impact outside or between Palestine and Israel. And yeah, I mean, it depends on the circles that I surround myself with. And yeah, I think maybe those are the two things that I'm trying to do, which are not working.
And smoking.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say also like what we do now and events like this helpful. I cannot compare, but yeah, there's also, you know, reading the news every day, hoping to read good news and have the war to end and get the hostages back and not seeing all the stuff we see. It's and then there's all the things that happens here in Germany. So yeah, each one of them takes a lot of resource and not easy. And I would say the problem is that we also maybe feel very isolated, and that's why it's a good thing that we meet here and we have dialogue. So yeah, hopefully more of that, and also therapy once a week.
My first thought was also my antidepressants. But then I also thought about my dog who makes me go outside, which is really helpful. But also, to be honest, just my Jewish community and Judaism in general, but being with Jewish friends and my family who just understand what troubles me in a very, very different way than my German or non-Jewish friends. Yeah, and I think you can also like add to that community like people like you, and like talking to you is just makes you feel less alone. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very, very important to stay sane. Is there any more questions? One more question, and maybe I think it's getting very warm in here and I really need a cigarette, so maybe that can be the last question.
Hi, yeah, my name is Javier. My question is less for the podium, it's more for the audience or everyone who is inclined to answer. I see that there is, like, in this field of polarization, or in the social media, I see there's also structures who work. There are think tanks on the right with a lot of money who invest in opinion making. There is a structure on the, I would say, PLO, PFLP, to also bring specific one-sided motives and infiltrating structures. Where are the left, progressive think tanks with practical and positive opinions who tackle that?
Leftists are usually anti-capitalist and don't have any money. I think that's a big problem.
Left-wing politicians have money.
Left-wing politicians have money, of course. But there's not like billionaires.
Yeah, I think that's your answer.
And maybe that's something we can discuss with each other after the podium if there's no one who wants to answer this directly. I have to...
Did you make a photo from the back?
Yeah.
People?
I have to thank all of you for coming here, for listening to us and giving us the space to talk and also asking so many great questions. And then I also, again, want to talk all of you for being here and for us to have this talk, and the Progressive Linke for organizing this event, and the technician for doing all the tech stuff. And I hope I did not forget anyone. Miriam especially, for
sure.
organizing all of this. You're amazing.
Ja, auch von meiner Seite nochmal einen herzlichen Dank. Ich finde übrigens, dass ihr vier das einfach wunderbar gemacht habt. Wirklich. Es gab einen Livestream, Defram hat sich da relativ kurzfristig und spontan dazu bereit erklärt. Ihr könnt auch das euch alles nochmal die nächsten Tage angucken bei YouTube der progressiven Linken. Wenn ihr das auch weiterempfehlen wollt, dann könnt ihr das gerne machen. Miriam, an dich nochmal ein herzliches Dankeschön. Du hast die Initiative ergriffen, du hast das alles vorbereitet und es war eine wunderbare Idee. Wir hatten alle Angst und es geht schief und sonst was. Und es war eine sehr schöne Veranstaltung. Vielen Dank auch dafür. Und das Netzwerk Progressive Linke ist ein Netzwerk und es setzt sich zusammen aus Menschen, die Mitglied dieser Partei sind und es setzt sich zusammen aus Menschen, die Mitglied dieser Partei waren. Und wir haben eine gemeinsame politische Grundlage und wir möchten auch gemeinsam weiter arbeiten, in und außerhalb der Partei, in dieser Gesellschaft für eine progressive Politik auch kämpfen. Wir freuen uns übrigens auch, wenn es weitere Mitstreiter und Mitstreiterinnen gibt. Auch das will ich mal am Rande sagen. Wir sind ein Netzwerk, das heißt auch, wir finanzieren alles persönlich und privat. Wenn ihr jetzt rausgeht, da hinten steht ein Klavier und wenn ihr etwas Geld übrig habt, würde ich mich freuen, wenn ihr auf dem Klavier etwas Geld hinterlasst. Wir müssen nämlich diesen Raum bezahlen. Herzlichen Dank.
Good, good, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's great.
About the stuff. Huh? It was very good.
Okay.
Let's go outside. Thank you so much. But you felt safe and good and you were... Okay, perfect. Great.
More quiet than I thought, actually.
Yeah, same.
Okay, next time we'll do
sad.
it.
So sad about it.
I feel like I'm responsible for a lot of the